Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one, I'm excited to share with you a first look at the 152nd Infantry Division, a new French division available in the upcoming Nemesis DLC, Plateau d'Albion. Let's jump on in. Just a note that what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change. However, this is planned to be released sometime this week alongside the new map Stoneware, so look forward to that. Let's go through all of the units and I'll put together a quick deck. So starting here in the logistics tab, we have the TRM 2000 truck. Comes with 750 supply, 8 health, you get 8 on a card for 30 points each. Then we have ourselves the Alouette, which is probably the worst example of a command helicopter due to it having low health, no ECM, and really slow. So it's there if you need it, but wouldn't recommend it. Then we have the TRM 10,000 logistics truck. This is actually a pretty good supply vehicle with 2,000 supply, 10 health. You get 3 on a card for 60 points. You're probably going to want to use these slightly behind the front line just due to their low number, and then ferry the supply to the front line with the TRM 2000s. Then we have the M201 PC, little command jeep. You get 3 on a card for 80 points. And then we have the VAB PC, where you are trading availability for some armor. Nice, fast, armored command vehicle, though. And in this division, you do get access to the ammunition depot. Let's move on to the infantry tab. So this is where things start to get pretty interesting. We have a mix of sort of Marines and reserve infantry, and we also have some airborne forces. So we're starting off here with the reserve machine gun. It's not great. Then we have the same machine gun, but not manned by reservist forces. Then we have the military police. These guys can be useful to make sure that you're recovering from suppression quicker and sort of regaining your cohesion, because that's what the military police trait does. It grants a suppression regeneration bonus and removes the reservist traits of nearby units. So it's useful to have those nearby, although there is a better example of this unit later on. Now we have the Marine units. Now these are pretty cool. This first one is the leader unit, comes with smoke grenades. Really love the addition of smoke grenades in WARNO. It's so welcome. And quite a few units do have them now, particularly leader units. Really handy to keep them hidden if they get caught out. They can be brought in with a VAB, which has a 50 cal. Then we have the Marines. We have 8 FAMAS machine gun, the FRF1 sniper, and the LRAC-F1. I guess it's more like a marksman rifle. And the LRAC. The LRAC is pretty good because of its range, 750 meter range, 55% accuracy. For 60 points, they also have the Resolute trait. Pretty decent. Then we have the Marines with the Appalache, 9 FAMAS, 1 machine gun, and the Appalache, which is a really solid launcher. Maintains that 750 meter range, but gets 21 penetration with a 55% accuracy. It's also got much increased rate of fire. So yeah, really good squad, and also can be brought in with the VAB. Really like the VAB because 50 cals are actually really good at chunking enemy infantry, and the extra armor on the transport is really useful for keeping those alive. You can bring in a Marine 50 cal squad as well. Could be handy. Then we have the reserve unit. So the reserve leader with the 5 MAT submachine guns and the AA-52. They can be brought in with VABs as well, but this is a reservist VAB, so it does have the reservist trait. Then we have the reservists with the LRAC. So they get the MAT 49, the MAS 49, and then the AA-52. With the LRAC launcher, this is the LRAC 73 though, so only 13 penetration as opposed to the 15 penetration of the LRAC F1. But nice and cheap, 35 points each. And if you're going to put a military police leader nearby, you could certainly mass these against the enemy quite nicely. And then we have the standard reservists, which is just a 10-man squad, no AT, nothing special about them. Yeah, not too great. But this squad in particular, for 35 points, pretty good. This one for 35 points, not so good. although they do get better weapons. Then we have the first of the airborne, so Gendarme l'Air. These guys are military police for the airborne forces, and this is the better example I was talking about than this 20-point squad, 4-man squad. This one, you get an 8-man squad, and they're much better equipped with like longer range weapons. So you're going to want to have these with your reservist units if you're using reserves. Then we have the sappers. Sapper leader has 7 FAMAS and the machine gun with the shock trait. And then we have the standard sappers with the MAS 49 and the machine gun there with satchel charges. And then there's the sappers which have the flamethrower. Sappers with the flamethrower is probably going to be your best bet, although the fact that these all have weapons that can engage at 850 meters kind of makes these potentially preferable for longer range engagements, but neither really ideal. Then we have the M40 recoilless as an option, 17 penetration, 1400 meter range, 35% accuracy. Not too bad, honestly. Like the 17 penetration allows us to really catch out enemy vehicles if they get in range, and it hits because obviously the accuracy is going to let it down there. But we do have access to the Milan 1, which can be brought in with the VAB Milan. So pretty nice combination because it just gives you 2 Milans. And then we have the Milan 2, which can also be brought in with the VAB Milan. Just having like a fast armored HGM vehicle for only 40 points is actually pretty handy. So yeah, nice combination again. And finally we have the commandos, air commandos. So 7 FAMAS, they have a mini-me. They have the FR F2, which is more of like a longer range sniper. And then the Wasp 58, which is a really fast firing AT weapon, but lacks penetration. But solid squad, and they get some cool transports in the form of the VIB, which is a VAB with a 20mm on it and a machine gun. So really solid fire support. This machine gun, or sorry, this 20mm can also fire at helicopters at 2,475 meter range. So at the start of the game, these could be really, really good because you've got a unit that can suppress enemy helicopters pretty well. And then you've also got a really solid ground unit to engage enemy forces on the ground. So yeah, really, really good starter unit that. And then there's also the Super Puma. And the Super Puma can airlift light vehicles. So something to bear in mind there as well. Pretty cool. All right, moving on to the artillery. We have 81mm mortars available and 120mm mortars available, although the rate of fire on these is somewhat lacking. There's also 105mm guns, and we also have access to the 155mm gun. This 155mm gun, really low rate of fire again. This is standard 105mm. So honestly, you're probably going to be focusing on using these 105s and maybe the 81mm mortars for smoke, something like that. Then in the tank tab, we have the M201 Milan, so just Milan on the Jeep. Then we have the P4 Milan with the Milan 2. These can be pretty handy to dot around due to their good stealth. Then we have the AMX 1390. Really, really good rate of fire with okay-ish penetration. I mean, for a tank, it's absolutely awful. And the range is not great either. Accuracy is kind of trash, especially on the move. But if you get a number of these in an engagement all at once, you know, they can overwhelm enemy forces. You just got to use them en masse. Then we have the AML 90CP, sort of fast command vehicle. Honestly, probably going to be using some of these in the tank tab just to make up for the logistics tab. And then we have, yeah, the standard AML 90. So AML 90, it's fast, especially off-road. You can see it's got a 90 km/h off-road speed, which makes it great for flanking. But its performance, once it gets into range, is not ideal. Finally, we have the VAB Mephisto. This is actually pretty solid. So you got the VAB with the Hot 2 launcher on it, which gives you a 2,625 meter range, 65% accurate, 24 AP missile. And yeah, really, really good. Really, really good. And the availability of these is not too bad. You get 5 per card, so you can have 10 of these total maximum if you wanted. And if you put them in the right spot, you're going to be dealing with enemy tanks pretty well. Then we have the Recon tab. So first of all, some reserve Recon. 4-man squad with the MAP 49, AA52 and the LRA C73. That's the one with the 13 penetration there and only the 500 meter range, but they do get the very good optics, and you can also bring them in with a Jeep that has good optics as well. It can also be brought in with the Elevate. Then we have the Marine Recon, and these guys are actually badass. They have the SIG 540, the 2 mini-me Paras, and a Apalas, and then smoke grenades. Really, really solid unit. Like, having their own smoke is fantastic. Really good AT weapon to exploit with that smoke, and then also solid weapons as well. They can be brought in with the VAB or the Super Puma, also the TRM 2000. Then we have sniper squads. These come with the FR F2 and the P4 Jeep. Then we've got the Squirrel. Nice 40-point helicopter. Looks really nice. Really like the Squirrel. Really cool helicopter for sure. But yeah, standard 6 health. Very good optic Recon helicopter otherwise. And there's the AML 6012, which is, I believe, better than it used to be as a sort of fire support weapon. So something I might want to try out again in this division. And then there's the AML 90, which I actually do really like. It's got the same armament as the tank tab, you know, it's the same stats basically, but with the very good optics, and it allows it to be a really, really good flanking vehicle for catching out units at the backside of the map, or like just shooting into like reinforcing roads and such. Really, really nice for that, like killing enemy transports, that kind of thing. Now we got another of the Recon aircraft in the game. This one is the Magister. It comes with machine guns, the AA52, and then 12 SNEB rockets. Not going to really be effective at killing anything on the ground necessarily, but for 80 points, a high-flying, decent optic unit is really, really good. Like, this is like very good optics, right? It's gonna be high, nice and high, so it's going to have really good like angles to spot stuff on the ground, and that's where it's going to be useful. You kind of have it hover behind your front line. Finally, we have the EBR 90, one of the coolest units to be added to WARNO so far. Really, really solid for speed, like 85 km/h off-road speed. It's like same as like the AML 90s in terms of like how good it is off-road. Like, it's only 5 km/h slower. Still has good optics. It actually has a better gun, so better accuracy, more penetration, more rate of fire. Like, this thing could be an absolute menace in 1v1s, when like just going around the back side of the map and just deleting things on roads. Yeah, but 1v1 like straight on against enemy tanks, yeah, it's not going to do very well. Well, this does have 4 front armor, which is actually considerable for sure. Moving on to the AA tab, we have the Bofors, classic 40mm gun, 1,200 meter range versus ground targets, 2,600 versus helicopters, 2,300 versus aircraft. Thing that really lets it down most of the time is just its rate of fire. It can't really put out the DPS that it needs. However, I haven't tried this against enemy infantry since aircraft or anti-air guns had their damage buffed against infantry. So curious in that regard. But you do have a good alternative in the 20mm. This thing's pretty decent, does put down decent sort of DPS due to its high rate of fire. But it does have less range against helicopters and aircraft. Still pretty solid. But I'd rather take it on the truck, the TRM 2000, which gets the same weapon system on the back for 35 points there. Then there's the twin 20mm, which is pretty decent. Same ranges as the single 20mm, but does have considerably more damage because it's a twin, higher rate of fire, actually decent accuracy here as well due to the base 1 vet, So yeah, could be a pretty nasty unit, as well as it having the Special Forces trait, which is interesting. Then we have the Mistrals. These can be brought in with VAB or the VAB T20. VAB T20, really, really solid choice. Similar to the VIB that we saw in the Infantry tab, because it can engage enemy helicopters with that 20mm very effectively. And alongside the Mistral, it's going to make short work of enemy helicopters for sure. Whilst the Mistral can also target and kill enemy aircraft relatively well, with its 60% accuracy and 5 HE. Of course, there's always the Jeep there, if you want to bring it in just that. Finally, we have the Crotal. Now, this is the radar version of the Crotal. If you're thinking of like Wargamer Dragon, it's not like the infrared fire and forget super long range missile. It's the radar version, the old radar version with the R440. Still really solid, 55% accuracy with 3,525 meter range, but it is going to need that classic radar micro to stop it being killed by seed. So yeah, you do have that option. I don't think the stats are as good as I imagined they would be when I first saw this. Right, moving on to the helicopter tab, we have the Alouette with the AS-11, kind of trash HGM, super slow moving HGM, but 19 penetration, 2,625 meter range with 40% accuracy. I mean, it's going to be good for sort of cleaning up sort of light vehicles, and sort of IFVs would be a really good target for this just because it's so cheap. It's only 50 points at the end of the day, so I reckon you can still get good value out of this. Then there's the Squirrel with the 20mm attached. For 55 points, I'm not sure it's worth it with 6 health. Especially when you can get the Pirate. Actually, that only has 6 health as well. I thought that had more. But that has the same weapon, the 20mm. This one's going to be easier to use than the Pirate. The Pirate actually gets 10% ECM, so that's where you're paying for the extra. I was just double checking that, although the Squirrel is pretty fast. Regardless, these are going to be very situational helicopters, not going to be used too often, but I think the Alouette could actually be a staple just because of how cheap it is. Alright, moving on to the air tab. Now the air tab's actually kind of interesting in this division. We have the Magister once again showing up with those AS-11 AT weapons. They are going to be really difficult to get value from. For 100 points, 2,625 meter range, you're going to be on top of enemy AA at all times. And it only has 6 health with no ECM. This plane, I think, should just be like 40 points or like 50 points. Same as the Alouette, because it's basically got the same sort of capability. Then we've got the Alpha Jets. So we've got the Napalm Alpha Jet, which does have 10% ECM, and the Alpha Jet HE, which actually has 6 250 kilogram bombs. I have a feeling that's maybe more than the German variant. Not sure, but either way, 650 kilogram bombs isn't terrible, but 6 health is going to let this down. But 65 points could be worth it. Depends what you're killing with it. Now we have another really cool new aircraft. This is the Crusader. Comes with the 20mm and 2 Magic 2 infrared missiles. Now the Magic 2s are actually pretty good. It's got 61% accuracy with the 2 vet, 3,525 meter range versus aircraft, 2,125 meter range versus helicopters. Honestly, for 80 points, if you shoot down an enemy helicopter with these, it's worth it, right? It's good value for money. And then the AA2 variant is actually even more scary because still 80 points, 2 vet, you get the R530. Now this thing is fire and forget. 7,075 meter range, 46% accuracy due to the 2 vet, 6 HE. Now you bring in all 3 of these at the same time, you're going to be able to take on like enemy MiGs and such quite cheaply, because this is only 80 points. Enemy MiG's going to be like 200 points. You shoot down 1 MiG with like a few of these, then you're laughing. So I wouldn't discount the Crusaders. They don't look great. They're kind of an ugly aircraft as well. But yeah, for 80 points, solid value for money. Mirage 3E, 10% ECM, 8 health. Same as the Crusader, actually. Faster, but comes with both the magic missiles and the R530. All of those are fire and forget. Does have the twin 30mm. This is going to be a lot more effective at shooting down enemy helicopters than the Crusaders, because the Crusaders only have one 20mm that I actually don't know how effective that's going to be. But in this case, what you would do is you'd probably bring in 2 Crusaders to shoot down one helicopter, and then it would just be one Mirage. Then we have, finally, the Super Etendard. This is a really, really cool aircraft. Very good-looking aircraft as well. Good to see these finally added into WARNO. We have a rocket variant here. So it gets 36 68mm SNEB rockets with the twin 20mm again, and magic missiles. Then we have the Super Etendard AT, which gets the AS-30L, which is a 30 penetration AT weapon, 3,325 meter range with 60% accurate. So it's really accurate, but it does require you to stay on target because it's semi-active, not fire and forget. Now this range for a semi-active missile is not very long, so these might get shot down quite a lot, but we do have 30% ECM, 10 health, so it's not too bad. There is the cluster variant that comes with 4 305 kilogram cluster bombs, which are pretty good actually. And then we have the Super Etendard with the HE, which is not going to have magic missiles, but does have the 400 kilogram bombs, 6 of those, and that will certainly kill off plenty of infantry. So I'm not sure if these are going to be worth bringing in to shoot down enemy helicopters, because they could be used for that due to the twin 30mm plus the magic missiles, like instead of a Mirage 3. Like I think in all cases, the Mirage 3 is useless here because you're going to want to bring the Etendard in with the rockets instead of the Mirage 3E for anti-helicopter. And then you just bring in like the Crusader AA for long-range engagements against enemy aircraft. Yeah, going to be an interesting one. Let's go ahead and put together a deck. So we'll definitely put in a fob. I just like to do that because in team games it's really useful to have fobs. If you're just playing 1v1, don't bring fobs. It's kind of pointless, I think. What do I want to do about leaders? I think we'll do Jeep leader for now. I might come back and add more leaders into this tab if I need to. Because we're unlikely, I think, to get too many leaders from this tab. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the Sapper leader. The Marine leader's cool, but it's only got 4 strength, so it's going to get killed by enemy artillery very quickly. Actually, the Sapper leader's probably your best bet. We'll just pop that in. Just because of its high strength. I think you've got 8 strength, so 8 men in the squad. It's going to be the one that survives the most. We're definitely bringing in these with the VIBs. This is your opener, no doubt. Really, really strong opener with the VIBs and the commandos. We'll definitely bring in the Marines with the Apalas. I'll bring in the Marines without the Apalas. I'm going to outfit those as well. And then I think what we do is we bring in the reserve infantry with the reserve LRACs. Those are going to be really, really good. And then we're going to want the VAB Milans with Milan 2s. Although I'm going to just do like Milans with Jeeps, Milan 2s with Jeeps, so that keeps it cheap. And then we'll do normal Milan 1s with VAB Milans. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, artillery, we want mortars and we want M105s. I just don't think these have the rate of fire to use them, although I kind of want to try them out, so we'll just pop them in. Also, this mortar is kind of interesting. The way it looks is ridiculous. What is this? I don't know if like maybe you could like screw an extension on it. Maybe that's what it's there for. Anyway, I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments if you have any idea about why it looks like that. VAB Mephisto, definitely bring in both of those. Probably don't need to upbet them because their base accuracy is already really good. I'll probably bring in the P4 Milans. We'll bring in the AMX 1390s. I don't know about the AML 90s. Like, I was saying how these might supplement leaders in other tabs, but Now I look at it, probably not, because of the way that the activation points is. Definitely bringing in these EBRs. Yeah, we're going to the races. Gonna bring in all of those. I'll bring in the helicopter, and we'll bring in the squirrel, or the aircraft and the squirrel, the helicopter. I don't know actually if I want to go for 2 cards of EBR-90s, because I do need some Recon Infantry, and these Marine Recon Infantry are really good, so let's not miss out on those. Alright, AA will want the CROTALEs. How many do you get at top bet? Ooh, that's not a bad idea. Something like that. Max vet, CROTALEs. I'm going to try this out. And we'll want the Mistrals with the VAB T20s for sure. Okay. I don't know if I want to bring in like a card of these as well. It's not much activation points, but we don't have many left. We'll definitely bring in the Alouettes. And then for the air tab, I'm thinking we do this card, we do this card. So this is like anti-helicopter. This is anti like aircraft, and then we have a couple extra slots for other things that we might want to bring. So I think we just maybe do each of them like that. That fills out the tab nicely. Yeah, we got the AT variant, the cluster variant, and the HE variant. Cool. All right, that actually worked out pretty well. Now I've just got to check if I've got enough. So we've got decent supply. I've got 3 leaders there. We've got 2 leaders there. Plenty of infantry. I actually really like the way the infantry tab has like sort of like the mix of elite and reserve infantry, and the reserve infantry are made worth it by bringing in the sort of military place. The thing that I'm kind of concerned about is I don't think I need that artillery unit. So for now, I'm just going to put this in. I would recommend using these instead of these, but I just want to see how these look in game. And we're going to add more VAB PCs in here. So we'll have 5 leaders. That's going to be 7 leaders. That's good. That's good enough. Because you can't really supplement or even think about bringing in 2 availability on the AML-90s in the tank tab. That's so useless. I would rather this just be 1 card of 4, and then it would probably be worth it. These AML-90s, they're just going to get crushed. Like, it's okay for like I had to have a few for flanking maneuvers, like in the Recon tab here, but otherwise I don't see them being too useful, unless you're maybe overwhelming the enemy at close range by using them as close range fire support. That could also be the case, because they are really, really good off-road. Like 90 km/h off-road speed is super good. Something to think about, but for now, we'll leave it at that. So 152nd infantry. There it is. Let's have a look at what that looks like. Perfect. All right, well, the 152nd infantry, I think is actually going to be like a solid close range infantry squad for like fighting in towns, fighting in forests, that kind of thing. Although it does kind of lack specialized close range infantry now I think about it, but then you might just be able to overwhelm your enemy with reservists at close range. But yeah, definitely towns would be great for this division, and sort of like short to mid range engagements. Open range engagements, it might still be okay due to the number of like Milans you can get, like decent aircraft support, decent AA. Yeah, I think it could be solid. And you've got really good flanking capability for 1v1, so I think instead of bringing in like the AMX-13s, you could just bring in more AML-90s in the tank tab and just like be really, really like annoying and harassing on the sides with those units. Interesting division. Let me know what you think of the division in the comments, but that's all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.